Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And I couldn't be more excited right now because last night, as of recording this, the Vegas Golden Knights got eliminated by the Montreal Canadiens in 6 games. And I'm super excited because Vegas doesn't get a chance to win the cup this year, which is fantastic. But moving on to that, I'm looking forward to the Avalanche next season, the 2021-22 season, which begins in October, I believe. And with that being said, I'm going to go over what I predict as the starting lineup for the Avalanche. I've already done the re-signings or let walk video if you guys want to check that out. And then I will probably be doing one of free agents the Avalanche should go to pick up, the re-signings, or no, I've already done the re-signing. The free agents we need to pick up, who we could lose in the expansion draft, and also my plan if I were Joe Sakic on players I need to prioritize on bringing back to the Avalanche, and just a plan for this offseason. But with that being said, I wanna jump into my message as always. And that is Jesus is King. I recommend you give your life to him. It'll make you so much more happy and fulfilled, and you'll feel like you have a purpose. And I truly believe that. If you have any questions, please ask me. And, pick up a Bible, read the Bible. I highly recommend it. I truly believe God is putting this out there for you to see. So I please ask that you take this into consideration of giving your life to Jesus. And with that being said, let's jump in to my predictions. So the top line is going to be, as normal, Landeskog, McKinnon, and Rantanen centering, or as a top line, and this should not change. Mikko Rantanen, we signed to that 6-year deal 2 seasons ago, so he's got about 4 years left on his contract. Nathan McKinnon has about 2 years left on his contract, and then we're going to need to re-sign him. And then Landeskog should get a long-term deal this offseason to keep the big line intact. And so there should be no change to the Avalanche. Next, the second line, I have Andre Burakovsky, Tyson Jost, and Jonas Donskoi. Tyson Jost really stepped up this past season and proved to me and showed me not the player who we drafted him to be, but improvements of the past few seasons he's had, and has really given me confidence in him being the second-line center for the Avalanche. I do think Nazem Kadri is going to be out the door. I do think we'll probably trade him before the expansion draft to Ottawa, it looks like. And then Andre Burakovsky was pretty silent in the postseason, got 1 goal in the final game. And then Jonas Donskoi, who was a beast on the power play and just scoring goals throughout the season. And I do think that is a very solid second line. And I do want to say, if you disagree with any of my predictions on who should go on what line, let me know in the comments. I would love your feedback on maybe players that I'm not thinking about or missing from this list. And then on the third line, I have Alex Newhook. In his second season, centering Brandon Saad and Nichushkin. And I think that would be great for this young prospect of ours to learn and just get some experience with playing with someone like Brandon Saad, a veteran who's won 2 Stanley Cups with the Blackhawks, and Nichushkin, who's just a big, powerful forward who's able to drive to the net and then get the shot off. I think that would be a perfect situation for Newhook to center because he can play wing, and that's what he was playing last season, but he was drafted to be a center, and I do think Alex Newhook, this would be the best way for him to learn and fit into this role. And Brandon Saad, I do hope we re-sign him, but right now it's looking kind of tough with the cap space to re-sign him, with Cale Makar getting a big and long-term contract, Landeskog getting a big contract. It will be hard to find the space for Saad to stick around, but I hope we can make it work. They say he wants to continue playing for the Avs. He wants to be an Av, so hopefully that we can re-sign him to a deal, maybe a 1, 2, 3 year deal. He's a great veteran leader on this team, and he showed in the playoffs. He was our best player in the playoffs. So, yeah, when McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog all went away, you didn't hear from Donskoy, Burakovsky. Saad was the player who scored in almost every game coming into the second round and throughout the second round. And the fourth line, I have Pierre-Edouard Bellemare as the center. If you did see my video, I did re-sign Bellemare to a one-year deal. Even though he's 36 years old, I think that veteran leadership and the ability to kill off the PK keeps him around for one more year. But I do think after this year, most likely Bellemare will be out of Colorado, and just the age. And then I have him centering JT Compher, who I really like out of Buffalo, or not out of Buffalo, who we traded from Buffalo when we were traded away Ryan O'Reilly. I believe it was Ryan O'Reilly, JT Compher, Nikita Zadorov came back. Maybe some other pieces traded, but those were the main two. And I really like JT Compher. I think he's a good depth scorer and a good winger. And then Martin Kaut I do have jumping up and making the NHL lineup after being drafted in 2018. I do think the Czech winger will be able to make an impact on this team. Now, moving on to the defense. The first defensive pairing, I don't think it should be any surprise. It's Cale Makar, the phenom, with Devon Taves. I just think this is our best defensive pairing. It showed last season, and I don't think that there should be any change. Obviously, we do a lot of flipping with the D pairing, but I do think this will be defensive pair number one. And then D pair number two, I have Bowen Byram paired with Sam Girard. I do think Ryan Graves will probably be going to Seattle. So I think Byram finally cracks a top four defensive pairing. And he pairs with Sam Girard, which I think would be perfect because the two are just different style. I mean, they're both offensive defensemen, but Sam Girard's like the how do you describe it? Like the he's just got so much agility. He skates in, he does his spin move, able to skate around. Byram, great offensive mind. He's able to run to rush in, pass, shoot, score. Kind of like a Cale Makar. Do I think he's going to be as good as Cale Makar? No, but I do think if he's like a fraction of what Cale Makar could be, I think he's going to be phenomenal. Obviously, when we drafted him, everyone said, "Oh man, him and Cale Makar are going to be a great pairing." I do think that's possible, but with Devon Taves, I don't think they're going to be paired up super soon. And I do think that a lot of people were kind of comparing him to Makar. I don't think he'll end up being Makar. I think Makar is just a very special talent that it's like a once in a generation you'll find a player like him. And then the third defensive pairing, I have Connor Timmins and Eric Johnson. Now, Timmins, I do think makes the roster. He was very solid last season, so I do think he cracks the defensive pairings. And then Eric Johnson is an interesting one because I think he moves his no movement clause so he can protect Makar, Taves, and Girard because Byram is not eligible for the expansion draft. And I think that Eric Johnson, this could be his last season in Colorado, but I do want to say I wouldn't be surprised if instead of Eric Johnson here, if this was Justin Barron, our first-round rookie from 2020. That would not surprise me in the slightest if we move on from Eric Johnson. But for now, I have Eric Johnson here, but this is subject to change and could always be Justin Barron. Next is goaltenders. The starter, I do think we re-sign Philip Grubauer. I do think he comes back as the starter in 2021. And now I also want to point out I have two other goaltenders here. I know only one is technically the backup, but I have one who I think will be the backup through the start of the season, and then one who I think will be the backup by the end of the season. So to start, I have Devin Dubnyk as the backup. I know a lot of Avs fans don't have us re-signing him, but as a backup, I don't hate Dubnyk as the backup to start out with. Very solid. He'll get us the wins when Grubauer needs some rest. But Dubnyk is just a solid. I do understand he's getting up there in age, and I know a lot of people have Jonas Johansson here, but right now I have him in the AHL developing a little bit more before he makes another jump to the NHL. And then the goaltender I have as a backup the second half is going to be our eventual starter, our eventual future franchise goaltender, in Justus Annunen. I'm excited for Annunen to make his NHL debut. I do think he's going to be our future franchise goaltender. Grubauer's getting up there in age. Dubnyk is definitely up there in age. So eventually, I do think Dubnyk and Grubauer will be gone. Dubnyk sooner than Grubauer, and I think it'll be either Annunen as the starter and Francouz as the backup, or Annunen as the starter, or Johansson as the backup. And before we end this video here, I do want to give you a couple names that were left off the list, but I could see playing or having significant playing time in the NHL, and these are just some top prospects to keep in mind. Sampo Ranta, who did play in the playoffs against Vegas for a few games, he could definitely make an impact next year in the NHL. Logan O'Connor, who I left off this list in exchange for Martin Kaut, I do think he could have significant playing time in the NHL this season. And Justin Barron, like I said, who could fill in for Erik Johnson if we were to. Obviously, he's most likely going to move his no movement clause. And yeah, I think he could be gone. If he is, I do think Justin Barron will pair with Connor Timmins as the third defensive pairing. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe if you did enjoy. I post a lot of Broncos and Avalanche content. As a Colorado sports fan, I do want to start posting more about the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Rockies. And then I also I do want to start covering college football when it gets back into season. And there'll be 3 teams I cover, because with there being so many teams in the college football, I think you can have multiple favorite teams in different conferences. My first team being Oklahoma State, because I go to Oklahoma State for college. My second being LSU, because I've been an LSU fan since I was a little kid. And the third one being Ohio State, because I've also really liked Ohio State for a long time. And obviously, I've always had a soft spot for Colorado State, because I have some family that goes there and also went there. So I do have a soft spot for them. But mostly Ohio State, Oklahoma State, and LSU being the college teams. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.